All right, we got another Transformers film. This one is number 7. How did it turn out? Let's talk about it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion for my Transformers Rise of the Beast movie review. And if this is your first time finding me and you happen to like the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Once upon a time, I could not wait for these movies to come out with director Michael Bay. At one point in time, he was my favorite director of all time. If Michael Bay was a part of the film, I was going to go see it no matter what. But then Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen came out and he stopped being my favorite. But if you know me, you know we got to go through the collection over here. I am a fan of some of the Transformers movies. I have the first one right there on Blu-ray, still probably considered the best in the entire franchise. I do not have Revenge of the Fallen. I didn't want to spend my money on that at the time because I did not like the movie, but I did like Transformers 3, Dark of the Moon, much better. Got that right there on Blu-ray. And also when 3D was a little bit more popular, I have the 3D version as well. Now we also have Transformers 4, Age of Extinction. Got that in IMAX 3D right there. Yes. And we're going to be talking about that in a second. With Mark Wahlberg as well, Transformers The Last Knight. And most recently, I have Bumblebee by director Travis Knight on Blu-ray. This is not directed by Michael Bay. And just going back, Transformers, the first one, is my favorite of them all. I think that is still a great film, possibly in my top 200 most favorite movies of all time. And I want to say that favorite is not the best. The rest of them I love. Transformers 3 is great, but the rest of them are just like, just put a bad taste in my mouth. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, B, if you feel that way, why do you have the whole freaking collection? It's because even though the characters are crazy and the story can be all over the place, Michael Bay is still a genius when it comes to the IMAX cameras. And he's also one of the only directors, I don't know how he does this, that will have the IMAX ratio cut available on home video for streaming, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, etc. So at the very least, it is a visual treat to look at on screen. And I pretty much gave up after Transformers The Last Knight Part 5. There was some redeeming things about the film, but overall, I was disappointed. But then when the 2018 film Bumblebee came out by Travis Knight, I was like, wow, if we could have just got a lot of this and put it in the other Transformers movies, we could have the best franchise known to man, possibly. So there was hope. But now we have Transformers Rise of the Beast Part 7 in the whole franchise, and this is being directed by Steve-O Caple Jr. If you're not too familiar with this man right here, and we scroll down looking at his filmography, he did direct Creed 2 with Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone. And also, I have to be honest, when I was younger, I didn't know anything about the Transformers. My introduction to this IP was with Beast Wars that came out in like 95 or 96. That was my first introduction to Transformers as a child. I didn't see the 1984 original animated movie till about a couple of months before the first Michael Bay film that came out in 2007. And that's when I became even more a fan of the whole Transformers lore. But the trailers have always looked great. They can be deceiving, even though I really did enjoy Bumblebee. That is my second favorite out of all of them. And I will also go ahead and say that Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast have nothing to do with the Michael Bay Transformers films. At least that's how I understand it after watching it. But before we get into all the nitty-gritty, before I talk about all my likes and dislikes, let me tell you exactly what this Transformers film is all about. During the 90s, a new faction of Transformers, the Maximals, joined the Autobots as allies in the battle for Earth. Now, the first thing that I really did like about this movie are the characters. They are likable, somewhat relatable, and they don't do anything crazy, outlandish, or stupid. In the past Transformers films, it was a mixed bag for me as far as the characters. When it comes to Sam, Shia LaBeouf's character, Shia LaBeouf, I liked him a lot. I really did. I was a fan of his character and everything that he had to deal with within this franchise. However, Michael Bay did have other characters that would say such things as, I'm not here to help you save your daughter. You're here to help me save my girlfriend. I don't know why any young man would say that to the father of the daughter that he's trying to court, but in my opinion, that's insane. And that type of dialogue just ran rampant through the Michael Bay franchise towards the end of those films. Luckily, thank goodness gracious, that is not the case at all in Transformers Rise of the Beast. The first character that we have is named Noah, played by Anthony Ramos. I am not too familiar with this gentleman right here, but he is a good talent. He was in Hamilton, if we just want to scroll down and look at his filmography real quick, that came out a number of years ago, and also In the Heights. I did not see that film, but I did hear nothing but great things about it. We also have Miss Dominique Fishback, who plays Elena. She is a historian slash archaeologist, and I never can say that name the right way. If we scroll down here, she was just in Swarm and Amazon Special, and also Judas and the Black Messiah, and Project Power that came out a couple of years ago. I'm a big fan of hers, and I will say I'm happy as a black man that this film had brown and black leads, black and brown leads, and that's somewhat surprising. It didn't really even click for me until about midway through the movie. I was like, wow, wait a minute, ain't much white people in this movie, but hey, that's what's up right there. But both of these characters really did do a decent job in the film. I really am a fan of Noah and the relationship that he had with his younger brother, Chris. You can tell that Chris, the younger brother, does look up to Noah, and just looking at Chris and the way he moves around the apartment complex, you can tell that Noah is doing a great job of setting a great example for Chris, giving his level of maturity by the age that he looks. He's an army man and it just needs a break right now, and is just going through tough times, and we've all been there, and that was one of the many ways I was able to relate to his character. He just wants to do the right thing, and that can always be respected. As far as Elena is concerned, Dominique Fishback, she's adorable. I like her too. She's very inquisitive. She wants to learn everything, and she's a geek. She wants to share her joy and passion for history, and it's kind of funny on screen when people don't share the same amount of enthusiasm that she does. Like, oh my gosh, can you believe that we found this artifact? It's this and this from this time, and this time, while other people are listening to her with that information going through one ear after the other or completely over the head. It's funny. It makes for good entertainment while I was watching this movie. I also love it when these two characters, Elena and Noah, first meet on screen. It is realistic to me. If I was in the shoes of one of these characters, I would possibly respond the same way. And there's also no time wasted when these characters are trying to get their point across, like, hey, I'm character A and I'm trying to do this, and I'm character B trying to accomplish this. And they have an instant connection that really does play through the rest of the film of survival, which really strengthens their relationship. A lot of times, or at least I've heard, that when two parties meet in the beginning, if it's through some type of tragic, traumatic situation, that can strengthen their bond. And I think that's the case with these two, which makes them more entertaining to follow as we're going through this adventure with them. The next thing I liked about this film are the Transformers. Of course, we have Optimus Prime and Bumblebee returning. They're always great, but one character, one Transformer did stand out to me more than the rest, and that is the character of Mirage. I love everything about Mirage. I thought that his powers and ability was shown on full display throughout this movie, and I was like, damn, this is a very resourceful character, and I like the way he uses his brain. The Mirage technique was used to the utmost degree, whether the character was fighting one-on-one in battle or trying to escape the local police speeding down the highway. I was saying to myself, damn, that was clean as hell. I love the way he used his Mirage to get out of whatever situation he was in. What also was funny about this movie is, okay, you have human beings working with robots, okay? What is the reaction going to be? And I love what we got with Noah. I would be scared as hell if I saw a car driving itself and then turned into a humanoid robot. I would not know what to do if I was in that situation. And the reaction that we got from Noah, like I said, was priceless. I would be doing the exact same thing. And I also have to spread that over to Atlanta as well. I loved all of that. There was a goofy moment in the middle of the movie where it was just too much comedy, where another Autobot met a human being and they were just like forced jokes to me. I don't like that, but that's really my only nitpick right there, to be honest with you. And I still have some more positives to talk about. But for the most part, I really did like the way that the humans did interact with the robotic aliens, at least early on in the film. Now, sometimes it can be a bit confusing trying to distinguish certain robots from others, especially at nighttime. And the first action battle in this movie, it was decent. It was okay. It was choreographed nice, but it was nighttime, so you really couldn't make out too much. However, when the film did transition over to daytime, that contrast between all of the colors on the Autobots, the Predacons, the Maximals, and the landscape behind them was beautiful. You had red, blue, yellow, green with green passion in the back. It popped like a rainbow, and it was very easy to tell who was throwing a punch, who was blocking it, who was shooting a missile, who was shooting a blaster. I liked it. The action was great, like I said. Choreographed very, very well, and I wish we had that same energy in some of the Michael Bay Transformers, because sometimes it was good, sometimes you couldn't tell what was going on, especially with Revenge of the Fallen, with them fighting this close to the camera. It's like, hey, what's going on? You don't know. That's very annoying. That was not the case at all in this film, and so I got to give 2 thumbs up right there. Did I say this film is funny? It is. You're going to laugh your butt off. I laughed my butt off throughout this whole movie, and so that's just another great thing about it. And I like the way everything flowed with the story and the plot as well. There is a ton of exposition in this movie, but it is necessary. I kind of would have liked them to show me more than tell me. Maybe at the beginning of the film have something like a Star Wars crawl, or in the beginning there was the Autobots and the Maximals, and they didn't do any of that, but you was able to follow the story, the plot. And again, this has nothing to do with the Michael Bay franchise, so they kind of had to start over explaining everything. They could have explained it a bit more for my particular taste, but for the most part, it was done quite well. The film uses both the human characters and the Transformers to fill in the role of the audience member for explaining situations towards one another. But like I said, there wasn't that much time wasted. Things did flow smoothly and organically, and things did progress from A to B quite well with not that much of a runtime. Nobody's wasted time. They're like, hey, this is our objective. This is our goal. This is what we're trying to accomplish. What is the fastest route that we can get there? Somebody's in our way, kick them, blast them, shoot them out the way. I can always get down with things like that. I really can. But it was a fun movie. I really did enjoy it. I may even add it to the collection. But one of the things that really did tick me off is what they did with the camera or lack thereof. Every Transformers film, except for the first one that came out in 2007, was shot with IMAX cameras and or IMAX lenses. So you had that large ratio in the theater or even at home, which I showed y'all at the beginning of this review. The only film that did not use IMAX cameras was also the Bumblebee film that came out in 2018, but at least they used the 1:8:5:1 ratio where it fills the entire screen. This film, Rise of the Beast, they used the widescreen 2:39:1 ratio. What does that mean? Where there is a black bar at the top and a black bar at the bottom. But it looked fine, but you're taking away so much detail, so much effects, so much more of the movie. And that was annoying to me. I don't want to go backwards in technology. Another gripe in this film is, unfortunately, Michael Bay is the king of setting up an epic moment with great music and just badassery. He always has a large amount of impact and intensity in his films, whether there is a bunch of characters together on one screen or just one. Michael Bay knew how to make a character land in an open field by himself, stand there with an epic pose and just look badass and intimidating and imposing with the great music, the score from Steve Jablonsky. I love that about his movies. That is missing from this Rise of the Beast movie. I kind of felt like the character was just going through the motion. It wasn't anything special about them. There's not one part in this movie where I say, man, I want to see that particular scene over and over and over again. You just can't create it, unfortunately. The magic just isn't there. Even though it looks nice and is choreographed well, it just does not have that gravitas that puts it over everything else, and Michael Bay was a master at that. Unfortunately, he was also very childish in his humor and some of the dialogue that would water down some of these epic moments. But one of the things that is missing from this movie is the impact, is the intensity, is the stakes. Sometimes I was saying to myself, even if there are characters dying in this movie, I'm not connected to them, and I still feel that everything is going to be okay. I was not at the edge of my seat, breathing, nervous, panicking, like, oh my gosh, what's going to go on? The end of the world is coming. I was just kind of relaxed, like, okay, this is entertaining, and I know that the Autobots and the Maximals are going to win. Speaking about the Maximals, they was fine, nothing special about them. They didn't stand out too much to me. They had a decent amount of screen time. I did kind of get frustrated with their explanation on why there was a lack of communication in between the Autobots and the Maximals, but overall, it's not that big a deal to me. I still had fun with this movie. However, by the end of it, I was saying to myself, hey, if we never see another Transformers movie again, I will be perfectly fine with that. But the last 45 to 60 seconds of this movie, oh my gosh, it blew me away. The theater freaking exploded. I cannot wait to see what happens next in this franchise for what they're trying to do. It is a big goal, and if they knock this out of the park, my goodness gracious, I will be a happy camper. This was one of the best stingers I've seen in quite some time, and I'm excited. I really am. But overall, guys, I did enjoy Transformers: Rise of the Beast. It was a good movie. It wasn't the greatest Transformers movie, and there were some things missing, but overall, I had fun. There was a nice childlike nature to it. Kind of remind you of a Saturday morning cartoon, to where even if something doesn't make sense and it's super duper convenient, you're just saying to yourself, you know what? I don't even care right now. I don't even want to be critical. I'm just having a good time. And I said that to myself while I was watching this movie, like, oh, I'm having a good time. This is silly. And they're making a lot of things so convenient for these human beings with tunnels and corridors shaped just for a human being, where you're having to do with Transformers. That doesn't make sense, but at the same time, I just didn't care, and I was here for the ride, ready to go in, charging to the Predacons to save it. Like, I had a good time. I had a good time. I'll go ahead and give my rating for this at the very end of the review, but for now, guys, that is just my opinion, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, helping me reach my next milestone of 50,000 subscribers. And over here, guys, I'm not just going to tell you to subscribe. I'm going to tell you what you're going to get if you do. You'll get movie reviews, spoiler movie reviews, series reviews, a weekly movie news roundup show, a weekly superhero comic book show, and whatever show right now that is streaming on television, I'm going to have a recap for it, as well as some trailer reactions and interviews as well. So before I give my rating for the film, I'll give my ranking for all of them. Number 1 is the first Transformers. That's still the best. Number 2 is the Travis Knight film Bumblebee that came out in 2018. Number 3 is this film right here, Transformers: Rise of the Beast by Stephen Caple Jr. Sir, you did a great job. Coming in at number 4 will be Transformers 3, Dark of the Moon, and then I will have to give the next one to Transformers 4, Age of Extinction. Then after that, possibly Transformers, is it Revenge of the Fallen or The Last Night? I think I'm going to give it to Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen, and last place will be Transformers 5, Revenge of the Night. They all have something good about them, but not always complete. But if I had to rate Transformers: Rise of the Beast out of a 1 out of 10, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Yes, a 7.5 out of 10. My guys, again, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.